back.
of We Made It podcast
Only thing
with your
that's exciting
hosts,
for me so
Jenna.
far
Colin.
is losing it over these fucking lights.
It's doozy over there in the lighting sitch. If you're joining us live, hello. If you are not, you will see this in post production, where we
Yeah.
could perhaps use AI to turn Colin into an actual ghost,
Oh my god, I'm so sick and
which would
tired
be
of this.
hilarious. That'd be so fun for a Halloween episode if we could get AI to turn us into like ghost looking characters like in Harry Potter, like the way that they're like translucent.
Yeah, like we'd have filters,
Ooh. I guess like a filter, sure. Yeah,
like a
yeah.
snap filter kind of thing.
Yeah, but like super advanced so it looks ultra realistic. Am I asking too much?
Maybe from the free stuff that we're gonna be using.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, I have a subscription to Adobe.
Oh, do you?
Yes, because I use Lightroom and Photoshop, so I just have like the package that's both. Um, I miss the good old days when you could just buy a fucking product though.
Oh, I hate this. You
What?
can't just use it.
You
You have to
can't
buy
just
a fucking
you subscribe.
subscription. Yeah,
You
it's all fucking.
subscribe and it's forever. And so it's genius from their point of view. And in all honesty, it's a fairly nominal fee for what you're getting, especially if you use it professionally and are, getting paid for the content that you produce using this software. Wow, Colin almost disappeared just now.
Yeah, I'm doing all of the tricks here. This
All of
is
them. Yeah.
this is honestly the weirdest thing ever. I feel like
It's
I'm editing a photo
you are
and just turning the contrast all the way up.
I feel like contrast is not what you need right now.
I don't understand what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. I don't think contrast is it.
I don't think any of this shit is it.
I wouldn't be like, "Oh, yeah, contrast up."
Try turning off one of the lights. Then turn it back
Outside
on.
of lighting, um what sort of exciting things have been happening in your life lately?
It's the life of a parent, which
Yeah?
isn't exciting at all.
Oh,
Um,
some might say.
it's demanding and it's exhausting, but it's very rewarding in a very intangible. I can't spend this on shit kind of way,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
valuable in and of itself. I'm trying to
It
get to that higher level of consciousness where I could live in the peace and contentment of that value my children provide me that I can't spend here on earth. I can only experience it in my heart, which is
yes.
super deep and incredibly frustrating all at the same time.
I was going to say it's like it's not an allowance, but it's like what is even the word? Not moral allowance.
Yeah, it's like a stipend for not killing your kids.
It's like a stipend, but for morality, humanity. No, that's too deep. I'll think of it at some point. What I'm trying to say.
I'm just gonna give up on the lights. No one watches this shit anyway.
This is it. This is it. We'll worry about the lights
When it fucking matters.
when it's a big production.
Yes.
Um. Yeah, that's interesting. You say like I was at an indoor playground this evening with Isla and some of my friends who have kids the same age. And one of them was saying that there's this lack of um, uh, people who are our parents' age. I would say and older, and maybe even younger than that, but definitely our parents' age and older. They have a very different um, perspective on access to time.
Okay.
And by this came up in conversation because I was talking about how this weekend we had more days than we ever normally have to work on a project, Jordan and I. But when you have two children who have wants and needs and are kids and want to do so, like you got to fit life into the projects that you want to complete, right? Or the other way around, I'm not sure. I don't know if the order even matters, but the point is that we had a finite amount of time, and then a project that we wanted to complete before we both returned to work on Tuesday. And so during this time, our very lovely neighbors, and I was like, they're so kind. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just like they also are retired and like to chat and have lots of free time. And the point of me bringing this up was that I was asking my friend, I was like, have you noticed that people, oh no, I've lost him completely. Colin's gone. I'm going to have to repeat this. Um, People who are older, who have a lot of free time, forget um, just how precious and how little time we have to dedicate to things. And I'm not sure if this is a parenting thing. Like, is this, I can't even call it an issue. It's not an issue. It's just like a style of parenting, perhaps. Or I'm not sure what else it could be. If anybody has any ideas, let me know. But I also wonder if it is a forgetfulness of, which is hilarious because I could barely remember that word, but like a forgetfulness of what it was like. Ah, he's back. Hello. I
That was
was
weird.
I was saying that I'll need to repeat myself, so I didn't get to the point of my message yet, but yeah, is it a forgetfulness that they have because they haven't been in this position in their lives for 40 years? And or is it a different style of parenting that is at play here? And are we spending more intentional time with our kids? Is that even what it is? Are we just more conscious of it and therefore guilty feeling? Are we, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine this scenario playing out in like the late 90s, you know?
Yeah.
And what would that have looked like? And why is it different today? Anyways, all this to say, they have a very skewed perspective on how much free time we've got. We have a finite amount. And folks who are retired, no offense, y'all got so much time that we don't have. And I'm frankly quite jealous a lot of the time because I am like absolutely passionate about like my own time,
Hmm.
that recharge time when I'm alone. Um, but that being said, you get chatting with your neighbor and then you're like, okay, I've got like 5 hours left of the day that I can possibly work on this, and this is going to take me 4.5 of those hours. Holy shit, got to get this going. And so, anyways, I felt like we were kind of giving our neighbors the cold shoulder, but maybe that was okay because they were puttering around in their yard too. I don't know. What is even, am I creating a problem?
I think,
Does it need a solution?
I think,
Anyway,
I think, I think yes
a
and
lot of
no.
things. Yes.
Like, yes, you're creating a problem. No, there is no solution. It doesn't need one.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I say yes, you're creating a problem, it's a problem creation problem. It's not a problem in and of itself, I don't think.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I think ultimately every generation probably struggled with the retired ones before them. Just just
Yeah.
just sucking all the air out of the room, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
In some form or another. So probably
Mhm.
nothing unique between our generation and our parents.
Okay.
I don't know. That just seems logical to me.
Yes.
Um, especially up until now, where arguably, uh, if you wanted to succeed, you needed to have worked. So
Mhm.
working hard was sort of
Yeah.
the MO of not being poor, not
Mhm.
not not having. I don't know. That's the wrong way of putting it. Uh,
Of having some form of, like, economic stability?
yeah, like
Yeah.
you have some sort of some status by some measure, whatever. I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
But you had to work for whatever you got. You had to work for whatever success you got. You had to work.
Mhm.
You probably had to work for whatever trouble you got. And I'm talking about this from a work point of view or a cash flow only point of view. I'm not talking about people interfering with your life in negative ways. I mean, like maybe you made bad financial choices, um, that kind of thing. Maybe you quit a job when you shouldn't have or whatever. But
Right.
ultimately, these individuals, their whole life, been working hard in some form, fashion, or another, and then all of a sudden they're not working, and they never learned good coping mechanisms like cultivating hobbies or developing social support networks. Um, Probably, they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Products of traditional homes and upbringings, which means they probably don't have a very close relationship with each other, their partners at home. So that whole empty nest
Probably
syndrome,
not.
probably not. So they're just doing their own things, being roommates in the same house. So you know what? In one sad version of this story,
Mhm.
every time your retired neighbor reaches out to you, it's a cry for help.
I
It's like, please,
oh,
I'm so
man.
fucking bored, but I can't tell you that I'm bored because I don't know it. I would never admit it because I'm a hard worker. I get things
Okay.
done.
Okay.
But this world that we've created for them now, everything is automatic. No one else works hard,
Hmm.
so they don't have to strive for the things they get. People are realizing now that the rules that we've all been following are just made up, and um,
Malleable.
they're malleable. They're doing what they can within the
Mhm.
system. They're playing the whistle, so to speak.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there. I think this is truly like a lost generation of souls. Just like I have
Lost
no idea.
generation.
I've worked all my life for retirement, and then there's those people that got fucked out of the retirement. Oh man,
Yes.
they must be
Yeah.
so upset.
Yes. Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, long
Believe
story
that.
short, yeah, I think you're creating a problem. I don't think.
Yeah,
uh
sorry, I didn't mean to say problem because 'cause you're
no, I
right,
know what
it's
you
not a
meant though.
problem,
Like
but yeah.
making this an issue, not making it an issue, but these
Yeah.
things just are, and you put a
Yeah.
story and a label to them, and then it's the creation that's the problem, not that it's a
Mhm.
problem in and of itself.
Which begs the question is, are we also making up all of these other problems that seem to exist in the world? Like
They're all made up, like you said in your story.
all of the woke
I've got 5 hours left to
stuff.
do this thing, but it takes me 4.5 hours to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but why do you have 5 hours? Why can't it take longer?
Right. Yeah.
Why, like, what timeline are you
What
holding yourself
metrics am
to?
I adhering
Why
to?
did you
Yeah.
choose these? And I mean, I know you and Jordan in particular, and
Yeah.
generally, you guys have good conversations where you have reasons for things. But I think mostly in life, most people are
Or
like,
like mild autism where we have to like suddenly adhere to this very strict set of rules that makes no sense.
well, that's the problem with ADHD too. It's like
Oh, there you go.
I can,
Another check on the box.
I can have, I can be totally, like free spirited, carefree, not a worry in the world
Yeah.
if there's no plan. But don't make a plan and then try to change it,
Okay.
because now I
Throws
can't
you
live in
right
both
off.
worlds. I can't live in both worlds. I can't get my head wrapped around this plan that obviously people put time and effort into, and
Okay.
then it's really difficult to get off that train when someone's like, "Oh, let's just fuck it all and then go do this instead." You're like, "This is gonna. I'm just gonna need a few minutes here just to fucking gather my soul from the future that I placed in there so that I could be ready to have a good time with you all."
I see.
And then I got to transition to this other thing. Or if it's no plan, it's like fuck, I can just not care about anything right now. Let's just chill. It's paradoxical and it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
but
gonna
that's the
say.
ADHD problem.
Hmm.
Everything is a paradigm or a
Every,
paradox.
everything. Everything. Yikes. Of making our own problems. Not problems,
Well, no, and that's it. Like
but
it's
yeah.
you create the mental framework in your head,
Mhm.
and now for the next set period of time, I'm good to go because I know how to play this game.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, let's just play Parcheesi instead of categories." And like, they're not even in the same category of games.
Mhm.
We can't just switch like that.
Mhm. I think these are the things I run into, or I recognize that I run into these things as a parent, where I'm like hung up on playing a card game exactly to the rules sometimes, and like
Yeah. You
you're
forget
trying
to
to,
scale back.
yeah, you're
To,
trying to teach, when Anson was like 4 or 5, and I was like, why am I getting upset because I am not able to explain to him correctly how to do this, and nothing's working the way it should. I was like, just modify the fucking game. He doesn't know. He doesn't
no.
care. I can teach him properly when his brain is bigger. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
So
Anyway.
I got two theories.
Okay.
Number one, you get upset because you're viewing your inability to communicate with your son as
Yes,
your own failure,
totally. Yep.
and you're getting frustrated, and that's part of
I'm
that
recognizing that. Yeah.
it's not only that, it's another level deeper because you actually first have to,
Inception.
it's abstraction.
Okay.
You have to think about, you're having the conversation. That's level 1.
Yeah.
Level 2 would be you going, "Oh shit, I am getting frustrated because I'm recognizing." Level 1 is frustration because you're not
Mhm.
communicating.
Mhm.
Level 2 is I recognize that my frustration is because he's not understanding what I'm trying to say. I'm struggling to communicate with him.
Mhm.
That's level 2. Level 3 is the next level of abstraction,
Next
which
level.
is um sorry, I got to write this down before I forget the next point, which is you going, I'm frustrated because I haven't been taught how to properly regulate my emotions.
Yep.
And so this is what it looks like when when I'm frustrated or I'm overwhelmed or whatever. So
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
chatting with William the other day, he asked what ADHD was, and I tried my best to give an explanation that was very wave toppy.
Okay.
But he
Yeah.
goes, something like, "Do you get mad, or is that why you get mad, or whatever?" I didn't want him to associate anger and ADHD,
Together. Yeah. Be
but I
like,
think
"Oh,
a
it's
lot of
because
people
of his
with
thing."
ADHD, yeah, he gets angry quite a bit. I think anyone who has trouble expressing himself or feeling understood would get angry, so it makes sense.
Mhm.
But I told him the reason that I get angry is because I recognize that what I'm trying to do isn't working, and I'm having a
Mhm.
very hard time figuring out how to express that frustration. And so it
Mm.
just comes out as anger because you weren't taught properly
Mhm.
how to manage that.
Sorry, I'm looking at my
Yoga wheel.
feelings wheel, and it's so anger, level 1, level 2, aggressive, frustrated, and then provoke the next sort of breakdown, provoked, hostile, infuriated, irritated. Yeah.
Yeah, like
All
I
of
wouldn't
those things.
suggest that the levels correspond to
Correct. To these feelings. Yeah. Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
levels of feelings, but
Mhm.
it's and this is a good example of what I talk about when I say taking a step back and thinking about what's going on in your life and thinking about
Yeah.
the decisions you're making, or the behavior or the feelings or whatever, because um if you just let life happen and take everything at face value, you're robbing yourself of so many experiences and opportunities and growth. And that
Okay.
sounds really hokey, but if you don't stop and take a step back and think and understand, you're going to miss so much stuff just because you can't see it.
Yeah.
You're going to
It's
miss
like
so
the
much stuff because,
reverse, or maybe it is like the rose-colored glasses type of thing,
yeah,
where you're seeing things through only maybe the one lens, and it's not unbecoming. It's
unrealistic. Yeah.
unrealistic. It just like it doesn't paint the full
Mhm,
picture, so to
mhm.
speak. Yeah,
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 it's like leaving out it's like how we tell history, right?
yeah.
We
We're
never
telling
tell
it
about.
from
Mhm.
one perspective. Yeah. Totally.
So the second reason, so it's the abstraction, right? You're angry because of
Yeah.
the communication and your your weakness in letting yourself be angry without getting angry.
Yeah.
Like that's where the control comes in. That's
Yeah.
where that stepping back helps. But the second part, and this one is tricky, and I'm coming at this from an ADHD point of view, and anyone who grew up in any kind of an environment where uh, it was confusing or chaotic, aggressive in any kind of way, your brain tries to create shortcuts so that you can figure problems out fast, so that you can get yourself to a safe space sooner. And
Mhm.
that's not a fucking room in the house where sanctuary, you can't tag me here. It's this is how I interact with my environment such that I don't get in trouble, or
Wow. So
I don't
life
put
boils
myself in
down
harm's
to I
way.
don't get in trouble.
Well, in this particular instance, the example would be, um, so the first one was the communication and the emotional dysregulation, sort of on your end of that conversation thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then on the other end, you're projecting onto him another thing that you experienced, which was, you wanted to play the game by the rules because the rules were what kept you safe.
Oh, interesting.
So you figure out the system, you figure out how it works, you insert yourself into that system, and you get along, and everything's fine.
Yeah. All is well.
And that's how you lived your life because you figured out what upset your parents, what didn't upset them, how to get along with everyone around you, how to cause the least amount of problems possible
Yeah.
so that you didn't have to deal with shit.
You said something very interesting. The first two things. So like how to interact with your parents. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna misquote, but you were saying how like by following the rules in this example, I was able to therefore interact with my parents and something else. But more or less, yeah, because that's what every child wants ultimately is just more
Well, and the confusing part
parental
about it is,
time. Yeah.
well, that's it, right? So when you're a kid growing up, your parents are your safe space, they're your security and your protection and your
They're your
providers.
teachers as much as, that's hard to believe sometimes.
But you
Yeah,
also you have nowhere to anchor this experience.
totally.
So
Yeah.
you don't know what good looks like and you don't know what bad looks like. So you just assume this is what normal looks like,
Mhm.
whether it's good
Mhm.
or bad.
Mhm.
And that's why you can fast forward and people have relationship problems where they can't hear nice things about themselves because they don't believe it. They were
Totally.
never told nice things. So obviously this isn't true.
And that is so sad to to cuz you know as well as I do that there's people everywhere all over this earth that experience that to this day. You know what I mean? Like right now there's people out there who don't believe that they are great, that they are beautiful, that they are whatever it is.
Yeah.
Uh and I don't know, to me that's just so sad.
Well, that's why, I mean, coming at this from my own point of view, I am trying to change how I respond to situations.
Yeah.
It's real easy. Like road rage was an easy win for me
Easy win. What
in
was
that,
your
like, I had
fix?
zero problem expressing my emotions on the highway.
Okay.
Uh, but it's easy to take things personally in a world where you you were the cause for all good and bad things in your life.
Okay.
Maybe not even good things, maybe just bad things. Maybe other people took the credit for the good things.
Is this something that not just you, but like is this something that people feel uh they they have caused quote unquote the bad things to happen? It's their fault? Is that like does that tie
No, but I
into
think
it?
I think what I'm saying is yes, but not that way.
Oh,
In the
okay,
sense
okay.
they've been conditioned to believe
Condition to believe. Okay.
that, when bad things happen, it's because of,
It's
you
because
know,
of
like, say kid
I
spills
didn't
a
take out
cup.
the trash or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
like why would you do that? Like why didn't you do that? How could you let this
Mhm.
happen? What were you thinking? All this kind of stuff. All these
Okay,
little
okay.
seeds of doubt that make you, it's never well, it's not never. It's not often as blatant. To me this is all logical, right?
Yeah,
I
of
look at
course. It sounds very logical.
every person is flawed. You go from like the best people in the world to the worst people in the world. All of them can have kids.
Mhm.
And then within that spectrum, they're all going to do right things
Wild
and wrong
stuff
things
left and right.
and different ratios of each. But one
Yeah.
thing's for certain is none of them are going to get it 100% correct.
And what even is that?
Exactly, that's
Mhm.
A. And then none of them, even if they could be really good, they're not going to be really good all the time.
Mhm.
So, and if you just isolate that one child as an example from whatever environment they're growing up in, and we remember what anchoring is, in that everything has to be related to an experience in order for you to put a value judgment to that, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't have light without dark.
Mhm.
You can't have good without bad. I can't
Mhm.
tell you how great my childhood was until I've, anecdotally through, growing up, you hear about other people's experiences and you start to piece together, oh shit, okay. This probably didn't happen in many other people's homes.
Mm.
This definitely happened in other, like, shit like that, right?
Uh, what you're talking about reminds me of a story that Christina P shared often on her podcast when she had Where My Mom's At. And it was that she would, at this time in her life, like she must have been like 10, maybe 11 or 12, something like that. But she would go over to her friend's house um, just for like a play date after school or whatever. Um, And this friend in particular's parents always had food that was readily made, and all that kid had to do was heat it up. So, like, there was often a tuna casserole. She's like, I remember the first time I went to this person's house and her mom called, first of all, to check on her. She was like, I was blown away. She's like, my never did my parents call to check on me. And then second of all, called to check on her and remind her that there was tuna casserole in the fridge. She was like, I'd never heard of this in my life. Tuna casserole. She's like, and it was ready and it was in the fridge, and all we had to do was heat it up. And we did. And she's like, and then we ate food that was like made and set aside for it. Like she's just blown away. And that strikes me as a moment where exactly what you're describing. Like she grew up in a household, every household has different rules. I tell
Hmm.
Anson this a lot,
Yeah.
but it also applies to the behavior of that household too. And so in her household, she was like left to fend for herself for a lot of these things. And
Latchkey
so,
kid.
yeah, like you grow up really fast and then you develop all these coping mechanisms like you're describing that are uh shortcuts because you haven't been, I don't want to say taught other ways, but more or less like you're making it up yourself and you have the brain of a child. Like what
Yeah.
are you going to do? Um and then yeah, seeing the other side of what parenting maybe could look like and just being blown away by it cuz you could take that and look at it and be like, "Oh my gosh, your parents are overbearing. I can't believe they do that, blah blah blah." But she saw it for what it was, which was like acts of service. Her
Yeah.
parents, that child's parents was showing her that they
Yeah. I
love
might not
them
be
and
here,
being
but
like,
I care about you.
"Yeah,
A
I thought
casserole,
about your
tuna
well-being."
casserole's worth.
Yeah.
Next time,
And
give
then
me
it got
20
yeah.
bucks, mom. Jeez.
Hey, maybe it's good. I don't know. Cause like Jordan's mom makes a really good pasta salad that has tuna. And anyway, I'm assuming they're maybe not the same, but like
Yeah. I was just joking.
tuna helper, that kind of thing. Anyway, you were getting to something and I feel like I
Oh, I'm
sidebarred.
not sure. Sometimes I channel my inner Michael Scott.
I was gonna say you're gonna Michael Scott this.
Yeah.
I just say
The
stuff until
all basically all that to say was no one is raising their kids perfect, which means no one's growing up
right.
with a whole understanding of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine you go out into the world and
Okay,
you
question,
understood.
question though. Isn't the point of life a little bit to like develop who you are on your own?
No, really good point. Really good
Okay.
point. But
Okay.
listen, Listen to this.
Foundational work. Okay.
Listen, this is what people are saying. Oh,
Some
this is
say.
terrible. I got to work on that.
That was like Alec Baldwin almost.
Imagine you're growing up and
Yeah.
through all of these transitional years of your life, you're going to school for the first time. And like, let's look about it from a social point of view. Cause really, I mean, in my mind, everything up until you're working is really, uh, a battle between what goes on inside your house and what goes on when you're at school.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's
There's like
essentially,
two playgrounds
those are
for
your
your life.
domains. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, even if you left the one, your house, knowing all you needed to know about what it means to love yourself and let yourself be who you are and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you were able to do that through school, now add on top of it all of the other messaging that you're receiving in a day about who you should be, how you should
Yeah.
behave, what you should look like, how you should dress, what you should and shouldn't do to your body,
Oh
what
my
you should and
God.
shouldn't put in your body.
Yeah.
There's debates on every form of media in the world about everything that's going on in the world and everything people are doing to themselves, for themselves, and by themselves.
All the time.
There
Yeah.
is no way that um there's no way that anyone's making it out of this thing complete. And that's why I
Yeah.
think, and that's basically the point of it, is no one's whole. No one knows who they are 100%. The people that do are very few and far between,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not the ones who are going to tell you about it and brag about it. The ones who are fired up and sure of themselves are the ones who are the most lost. And
Isn't that an interesting thing that you only come to realize with time? Um, because those are the kids growing up that seem like they've got it all figured out, that sometimes gain, I wouldn't, it's not popularity because that's not it. It's like notoriety.
mm,
If you look
mhm.
back and think on people who are like most memorable, maybe it's often these like big personalities that um pr- probably, I'm assuming, like looking back on it as an adult with a fully formed brain, I feel like in development.
Yeah, yeah. With a fully formed brain, asterisk, like it is the author's belief that,
Yeah. Quote unquote.
yeah.
But yeah, that they were actually the ones who were um probably like, I don't want to say suffering the most, but just having the putting on the biggest show,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And for
It's all
who?
posturing. It's
Yeah.
for everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's why they struggle the most, is because you strip it all back and they're like, fuck, I got no idea. You take
Mhm.
away their closest friends, the people that they laugh with the most, the people that they look to see if they're laughing first before they laugh, so they know it's cool to laugh.
Yeah,
You know what I
is
mean?
this socially acceptable?
These,
Yeah.
yeah, it's and so all, go easy on yourself for not being able to explain to a 7-year-old how a game of cards works, but take a
Yeah.
step back and understand why it bothers you so much,
Yeah,
and
and
then give yourself the credit and grace of knowing that you grew up in an environment where you were missing a lot, you weren't understood, which means you weren't given an environment to thrive in,
mm,
and you developed a lot of bad coping mechanisms to make it workable for you.
to
It,
make it through.
and I mean, make it through is bad. I think masking isn't just an ADHD thing. I think we all
Oh, I
mask
think everybody
every
masks
day.
on some level.
You
Yeah.
gotta
I
behave
mean,
at work. You gotta, job interview or
totally.
fucking, you get pulled over by the cops. You're not gonna be who you
Totally.
are. If
Yeah.
you are, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking get that upper deck. What seems to be the problem, officer?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
masking isn't a bad thing, but understanding when you're doing it and why you're doing it
Is
is
important.
is important. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Superman, or I guess Batman, knows when he takes off the mask he's Bruce Wayne, but when a lot of people take off the mask, they don't know who they are. They don't know how to
Whoa.
behave. They don't know which direction to face because they have no idea where they're coming from or where they're going.
Mhm. That's deep.
And can you imagine the guy who came up with all that um, fucked up our episodes? So on April 29th, we recorded episode 112,
Okay.
which we titled Ignorance is Bliss.
Okay. Oh no.
Episode
Should I be worried?
113,
Yeah.
which was our next episode we recorded on the 14th, we called I Wish I Was an Idiot. And I numbered them both 112, which I thought was really funny because they both are
Oh, the
talking about
irony.
being dumb.
Oh,
It's
the irony. Oh, have we fixed
man.
this little
I
snafu?
wonder if I can. I wonder if I want to even. I realized like if we were more successful, this would probably hurt our numbers because people are like, oh, I already listened to 112. Oh, we already got
But here we are.
8 streams of it. I wonder.
Um,
Oh, I can change it.
so this ties in to kind of the one topic that I had written down for today, if I may. In my yoga teacher training, I've just successfully completed the
What were
meditation
you meditating with?
module. I was trying to mix up meditation module together.
The
Um
Mejmaj.
the Mensch and man, I don't want to say I realized how much I needed it, but I really did. And like in all honesty, I was explaining to Jordan, I was like, there were some optional meditations that I didn't do because the teacher drives me insane and I can't. So I'm, because I do this like nitpicky perfectionist bullshit that I do, I'm like, I need to go back and listen to them at least to say that I completed it so that I feel like I'm honest when I actually go to write my final test and say like I've done the 200 full hours. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um but I don't know if I can. And I because it's optional, like I don't have to, but part of my brain again believes that I should. Anyways, all this to say, I did a lot of meditating, guided, and I I was like, should I do a meditation challenge? And I was like, I should bring it up on the podcast. We should do a meditation challenge. Does that defy the whole point of meditating to make it a challenge? So many questions.
It's a good thing you came here because I have all the answers.
Great.
Yeah.
Roll them out.
Uh, I think it's incredible. I don't think, and this is what you gotta. This is the conversation I think you should have with yourself about
Ah,
these 2 videos.
okay.
So, like, you're nitpicky. You think I won't be doing it. I can't say hand on heart I've done it if I don't watch these optional videos. Blah 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 blah. I
Right.
mean, there's there's nothing saying that you can approach this and say, you know what, I did all the required learning. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I understand what it is they were trying to impart to me.
Right.
Um, she's not working for me.
She's
This
not.
I'm not enjoying this.
She's not.
It's actually harming my educational
It's
experience here.
making me like, but then I'm doing that thing where I'm like, why is this bothering me? What about her is bothering me? What is it? If I can figure out what it is, maybe I can get past it and then I can successfully
Mm.
complete the so that
But that
rolls
can
around in my
happen
head
later
too.
too, right? Like it doesn't have to.
Oh, fair.
There's no
That's true.
order that things have to happen in.
Mhm.
You can decide to, continue to meditate with a different guide, and
Yes, yeah.
maybe you get, or you find out what those optional ones were and you find
Mhm.
similar ones somewhere else.
Fair. Yeah.
Because and let's like
Or I
meditation.
I th- I thought of this too. Like she has other content. Like she's a professional in her field, so she probably has other content elsewhere, like on whether it's YouTube or Instagram or whatever outside of this course. And I'm like, maybe I should go check that out and see if there's something in there that I could do to kind of like, I don't want to say satisfy my need to feel like I have listened to her,
Yeah,
but more or less that's what it is.
but you feel like you have to because it was provided.
Totally.
But
I'm having a Hermione moment where I'm like, it's optional, but I have to do it. Like,
there's this thing called Pareto's law.
what is this? How do you spell that? Pareto.
Pareto. And it's the 80-20 rule.
80-20. Okay.
So in anything you do
Say more.
in in skills,
Mm.
20% of the skills of a certain discipline are going to give you 80% of the results.
Ooh,
So
okay.
if you want to learn guitar, you don't have to learn all the guitar. You need to learn
Oh,
the
look at
20% of guitar skills
Yeah.
are going to let you play 80% of guitar songs, say.
Okay.
Or you can employ it up to 80% of its employability.
Colin, I think I've been doing this my whole career.
Well, everyone's been doing it their whole freaking life. You just
Oh,
don't
okay.
realize it. Teachers
Okay.
spent 20% of their or 80% of their time on
Yes.
20% of the students. And
Wow.
they're
Okay.
usually the bad apples.
They're the ones that they have to
Think about your bus.
deal with the most. Yeah.
There's only a certain number of kids that take up the majority of your time, right?
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about last time. I wish I could give out positive feedback more because I would.
So what you could do is focus your 20% of your effort on the things that are going to give you 80% of your results.
Okay, okay.
So encouraging good behavior will
Oh,
probably
yeah.
yield more good behavior, right?
Yeah.
Rather than only punishing bad behavior.
Yeah, I've been doing if we all behave in the morning, we all get to listen to music in the afternoon. It's been working pretty good.
That's a tough one because like all or nothing is difficult.
Oh, totally.
But
Yeah, cuz I have to also, in this particular situation, I have to account for the fact that I have a wide range of
well,
ages,
that's true too.
and
Yeah.
then some of them don't actually have impulse control really at all yet. So, if they stand up, I'm like, "Sit down." And they're like, "Oh, right. Okay."
Yeah, that's good. That's not
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. So anyway,
But I'm not like so strict that I'm like, "Okay, music's canceled." You know what I mean? I'm
mhm.
like, "Okay, you listened. That's more important to me than never standing up." It's like what you were describing, like you're going to make mistakes. Even the best kids don't do the best things 100% of the time. Like it's the same thing.
And
I
like
recognize that they're
we need
human.
to understand like we're not made to to we're not made to live like that.
To live
It's
perfectly
impossible to be
all the
perfect.
time.
Sam
What
Roberts
is
said it.
what is this like magical like epitome of perfection that I don't wanna say everybody because it's not everybody, but the large vast majority of people are striving towards this, fictitious perfection.
Wow.
And what are we
I
even
mean, that's
doing?
all a joke, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it'll be determined by the society you live in.
I suppose, yeah.
Like, I mean, you could be a perfect porn star. A lot of people aren't going to call you perfect, right?
Mhm.
So,
Depends on in this case, the audience, I guess.
well, and I mean, to that end,
Mhm.
uh, there is no standard. There is no perfect.
Uh-huh.
There is no. I'll say there is no right and wrong.
Mhm.
There just is, and we put labels on things, and we govern ourselves with these made up
Everything.
rules that say, this is good and this is bad. A lot of things that people do today and say and experience without blinking an eye would have been like beheadable offenses back in the day.
Like, how many things were women burned at the stake for?
Well, mostly just witchcraft.
Well, was it witchcraft,
Do you believe in witches?
like, no, but do I believe some people
Like,
believe they're
no.
witches?
I
Yes.
like the most caveat answer one word. No. However,
Uh, no, sidebar, some people believe they are. So,
we
that's
we
a
got
thing.
we got to get
So
into that later. But I want to circle back real
so
quick
what is that called?
to the meditation thing
Okay, yeah.
because what I want everyone to do. Cassie put in her notice at work and she feels all kinds of feelings, right? Because she's
Congratulations.
never
I
quit it.
mean,
she's never left a job that she didn't have to leave for us getting posted, right?
Yes, for a
So
reason.
to some extent, she feels like she's quitting, giving up.
Oh dear.
You know what I mean?
Like her internal struggle battle is
Yeah,
about not I see.
it could be
I
for
get it.
a
Yeah.
million different reasons, but
Mhm.
ultimately, instead of being proud of her saying, "This is what I need right now in order to
Mhm.
enjoy the most of where I'm at in life. This is what has to
Mhm.
happen. Thanks for the opportunity." Blah 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 blah. Like we grew up, and this isn't our generation. This is all generations.
It's
You
pretty
got to be a
widespread.
fucking greased wheel in the machine, otherwise you're useless. You provide no value.
This is a struggle that Jordan and I both
Yeah,
also have. So yeah, totally relate. Yeah.
I think what's helpful is when people ask themselves why they're doing a thing.
Mhm.
So when you're doing your meditation stuff,
Or wait, pause. Or you could really dive deep and start asking yourself, why is that the place where you uh eh, how do I say this? It'll come to me. Anyways, unpause.
unpause, unshun.
Mhm.
Um, like instead of saying, I really should finish these. Hey, you're wasting your own time having the argument.
Totally.
Make a choice, and move on. Right?
Yeah.
That's ultimately
As
all
my
that
mother
matters.
always said, shit or get off the
Well,
pot.
that's it. And so
Yep.
you can look back and say, you know what? I got 20% of the things that they're trying to teach me. I'm going to get 80% of the results. I don't think this optional stuff is going to get my final score that much higher.
Totally.
And or
It won't.
unsure if it's going to deepen your understanding and
I don't think it
appreciation of the
will.
art, right?
Yeah, like it's a percentage of the course, a small percentage. I don't want to diminish it. It's, I would say, an essential component. But they're obviously not going to put that much education into it because they also are selling a meditation course. So if you want to deepen your knowledge and practice of that, then you can invest in it. But like you should be aware and know that this exists because odds are good and like if you've ever been to a yoga class, there is a brief meditation before your final shavasana um, in most classes. So you're gonna dip into it whether you want to or not. It's just a matter of like how much you want to put it into your own personal practice and how much you want to include it in your classes as a teacher and all this. Yeah, that's my TED talk.
There you go. So really you just have to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's
truly.
no situation where you need to feel bad about doing it or not doing it,
Okay. Yeah.
right? I think that's the way. I think fear drives so much decision. And most of your emotional responses to things can be reduced to fear.
Yeah.
Anger is a fear response.
Yeah.
You're not actually mad, you're just afraid.
Is that Brene Brown? Shame, fear,
Hmm,
a
I don't know.
huge Brene Brown, she talks about oh, she just like she's so great. Um, shame is a big one. What is it gonna tell me? Guilt. Shame and guilt.
Yeah, they're weird ones because other people can make you feel guilty, but only you can make yourself feel ashamed.
Right, the shame comes with from within.
Yeah, because guilt is other people saying that you should feel bad about yourself, but shame is you
Yeah, like
saying
you're
you should
yeah.
feel bad about yourself. I'm
Mhm.
ashamed of what I did. I mean, in certain situations, I'm sure that's appropriate, but there's definitely, and I know we talked about this with Leroy, where he's like, we need to shame more people.
Well, this is it. Yeah, no,
Eh,
totally. Shame is a very effective tool and I'm not saying like let's go out and um manipulate people with shame. That's insane. I think shame, in the right place at the right time can be the right tool to use,
like classic
right?
example,
Okay.
you know, break up in a relationship, and it encourages one or the other partner to change who they are as a person, whether
Mm,
physically or their character types, kind of thing, like how they interact with their environment. Maybe
mm-hmm.
they were an asshole and they finally realized it, or maybe they were uh morbidly obese and not taking care of themselves, so they changed that part of who they are.
Yeah, or just some behavior was I don't say off-putting, but like off-putting enough,
Well, and
right?
you have to think about too that the emotions are are serving a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, it's your if you're feeling shame, it's your body trying to tell you something, and it's saying, "Hey, I'm not living in accordance with the ideals I've set for myself." Now,
Yeah.
we've talked
With
about
my own
how,
internal moral compass.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like last week's episode, or meeting your own expectations or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't listen to the emotions and at least think about it, and the perspective I have in this situation is, we talked about taking off the mask and knowing who you are, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get really confused where I'm like, okay, is this part of, if I'm telling myself I'm going to be someone who's in shape and works out on a regular basis,
Okay.
but I don't work out on a regular basis, and then this is an example. It's not
You're like, this is not based in fact, okay?
because it's a shitty example for something that should be a little bit more complicated, I think. Um, I often wonder, is this thing that I'm feeling telling me to go work out more and be in better shape, whatever? Is that me? Is that what I want? Or if
Mm.
I allowed society and other people and family and friends, whatever, to supplant that thought in my inception,
Mm-hmm.
supplant that thought into my brain, and then
Mm-hmm.
now that's what I want. You know, a better example is you, the way you were raised in your home and how your home is kept
Mm-hmm.
is largely carried forward. So, we gotta do this every week, or we gotta do this, or however that's managed. When you
Well, it's part of your weekly routine. You know, we do it with our kids. They have chores. They're in
Mhm.
charge of certain things to help maintain and run a household. Like Isla's in a massive why, questioning why for everything. She's 3, totally
Yep,
appropriate.
trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, and one day I said, I'm sorry, I can't right now. I have to go fold this load of laundry because again, I was like setting my own made up rules. I was like, if I don't do this now, I know I won't do it later. So now is my opportunity. So I was just like, I'm gonna fold this right now, and I'll do that with you after. And she goes, why? And I was like, well, and then I was questioning the why. I'm like, yeah, why? Well, it is because I won't do it later. It is because I recognize that I this might be my only opportunity to
Because you
finish
set
this
boundaries
task.
maybe for yourself.
That too,
Yeah.
and I know that this issue becomes a bigger problem. It can become a problem if I don't address it. So if I'm not keeping on top of this task regularly enough, I'm like, if I don't do the laundry, then you don't have underwear. Anson doesn't have underwear. You don't have PJs. You don't have clothes. Mom and dad don't have clothes. I was like, we're not leaving the house without any clothes. Like, I went really extreme with it, obviously, but I was trying, and I don't know if this was too much of an explanation, but I was just trying to drive home the point that, like, there is the cause and the reasoning for doing this task in the first place is this. And thankfully, she's also at such a curious age where she wants to help. So I've set her up with a couple things that she can like help me do
Hmm.
laundry sometimes. Same with Anson, but yeah, it's just like such a curious like a why why is this system set up? Anyway, this was getting back to what you were saying.
I don't even know. I
Oh,
like what you said though.
sidetracked.
Uh, in my mind, I question everything now just because it just seems safer that way.
There's a natural curiosity that comes in. I don't know if it's an age thing or if you get interested enough in self-help or maybe do therapy enough that you start to, like you said, see things for all of the angles, like in all the angles and possible ways, like that you could see it,
Yeah.
and you're curious about that, and like the curiosity of recognizing that there's not just one right way of doing things is the quality I think that you're describing.
I find it so much harder to have like a solid opinion on shit, especially if it's
Yeah,
contentious. Because I'm like, I get both sides.
yeah,
I get why everyone's upset, and I'm like, I would just love for us to stop talking about it and just solve it. You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Um, but I can't remember. I can't remember. Fuck, I can't remember what you said. But I thought it was a really nice way of putting it. Oh, yeah. You get in your head, is this my idea? Is this my thought? Or is this someone else's? I get
Okay.
confused about that at times. That's basically that story.
Mhm.
Um, but then, questioning the why behind things.
Mhm.
I think I always felt that you can kind of use it to rationalize not doing anything you don't want to do.
Totally. Oh my gosh, kids do that all the time.
But then you brought up a really good point that I thought maybe probably would have taken me a little bit longer to get to if I tried. Um,
Okay.
but you can't borrow against your future
Mhm.
to solve problems. Then you got to, like, now problems are small but they grow exponentially. So like the
Mhm.
laundry is a great example because most people could be like, we've left laundry for days without folding it because we just didn't feel like it didn't make sense. But
Or like the week is busy.
yeah, yeah,
I've
there's
washed 2
reasons.
loads. It's in the dryer. It's in a hamper. I ain't got no time to fold right now. Folding
And
is the long part. Yeah.
it's not even I don't have time. It's like I don't feel like it.
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm not
Sometimes
doing
it's
it.
just sitting in another room. I don't even want to go there.
I'll get to it later. It will
Yeah.
get done, and you're old enough and you're responsible and accountable enough that you know it will get done. But
Yeah.
like trying to teach that to a kid is crazy because you're like, they're just clothes. Who cares? Well, yeah, you're right. Who cares? Until you're not wearing anything, and then
Yeah.
the laundry machine breaks because we're trying to do too much all at once,
Mhm.
and then now we don't have clean clothes for a long time, and we're out all this money, and then
Yeah.
maybe fucking crumbs and food on kids' clothes, and now we got mice in the house and shit, and so like you
That
can
would be
see
so
how,
exponential of an explanation. And then our whole house falls apart because we haven't done laundry this one time.
yeah, maybe that's just like the spiral response of an ADHD brain, but
It's a bit of a cat in the hat storyline. Similar storyline, no? Cuz like
you'll have to
the pink
refresh me.
stain, I think it's cat in the hat. There's like a pink stain on something and then they try and wash it off and then the bath gets stained pink.
Okay, yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh my gosh, let's do this." And then that becomes pink. They're like, "Oh my god, it's getting worse." And they just keep trying to fix it and it keeps getting worse. I feel like this is exactly what we've just described, but not a pink stain on something.
Yeah. It's laundry. It's like, why do we have to get this done? Because it's going to be a problem eventually. Let's solve it
Yeah.
when it's a small problem
Yeah.
instead of waiting. And like, yeah,
Putting out a lot of small fires is uh yeah, just like
way better than waiting for it to be a fucking inferno.
explosive. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then it's out of control. Nobody wants that.
Man, we covered. I feel like
The
it was
gamut is
a
wide.
dense topic. Like we didn't talk about much, but we talked about a lot within this narrow
Mhm.
space. I don't know.
Yeah, so
Everyone,
I'm gonna try and meditate more. If
I like the idea of meditation, and I like the idea of it's funny. Like, do you take these extra classes or not? Well, like, let's just sit on the ones that you had to do.
totally.
Let's meditate on those.
Yeah.
Make sure we understand them first. But
Yeah.
I don't like the idea that you feel compelled to do something for any other reason than it's truly something you desire to do.
Totally. Especially I don't want to say especially, but it's my optional stuff. And maybe this is where I uh sometimes express overachievement is in the optional stuff. I'm like, "Oh, well, I also did the optional stuff, so I'm like extra qualified."
Yeah, it's an
Even
interesting
though
question. Ask yourself
that's
who
not.
you're doing it for.
Yeah, who's it for? Is it to gain more knowledge? Is it for me? Is it for other people? Is it to boast about it later?
So
Like,
I'll tell you this,
what am I doing?
when I was going through my training at the
Yep.
armored school, there was a section of training that used to be done a lot. It was very theoretical. It was called AFV recognition,
Okay.
armored fighting vehicle recognition. So they put like a Bradley tank, and they'd explain to you, the road
Not America's
wheels.
Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah, AFV. Um, Jets,
Sorry.
helicopters, they'd explain to you what are the main components to look for. Where's the exhaust? Where's the driver's hatch? How many road wheels are there? What kind of main armament is? What kind of armor does it use? All this
Okay.
kind of stuff. And then you could classify it. Same thing as drinking wine. You're just addressing different
Hmm.
variables and boiling it down to something.
I was gonna use the word symptoms, but that's
Yeah.
not it either. Yeah.
Um, so they took all of that out. Back in the day, army
Gone.
guys used to be able to pull up to a stand at a field training exercise, whip out a pair of binos, and see a model of a thing hidden in the bush with camo on it. And
Okay.
they'd be able to tell you because just enough of it was showing, they could be like, that's a fucking
This thing.
enter tank
Okay.
name.
Cool.
But we don't do that anymore. We joke that
Why?
because, I mean, with resource constraints, they got to cut shit to get the same amount of stuff done
Okay.
or the required amount of stuff done in the same amount of time.
Yep.
We had great instructors. They wanted to volunteer their personal time to come in after hours
Mhm.
and teach us this kind of stuff so that we could know it.
Mhm.
And in the back of my mind, I was like, awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be there. Let's learn this shit." But what was really going on was I better go to everything possible because if I don't do well, I don't want anything to come back on me like he didn't try hard enough or he didn't go to extra training or whatever, whatever, whatever.
Okay.
Like I wasn't
It
doing
was
it for
for
the right
others.
reason. I was
I
doing it
see.
for others. I was like, I better make it look like I give a fuck so that if it comes down to it never did. I always did well. Okay, I
Mhm.
was right there in the middle where I belong.
Mhm.
Um,
Happy in the middle. Yep.
happy. But yeah, a great example of ask yourself who you're doing it for. Because I've done so much
Mhm.
stuff for other people that and it's not even like big things, but you realize that it all adds up and you've wasted so much of your life trying to please other people.
Totally.
I can't remember who said it, but it was for people pleasers. It's like who are you trying to please,
Mhm. Mhm.
and how do you know that they're pleased with you?
It's
Like
this immeasurable finish line.
that's why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why everything should be for your own fucking reasons. And honestly, those reasons are yours. You don't need to explain them to anyone.
And that would be very a sign of good mental health, I think. That's what
Which
you're
other people would
describing.
probably just think you were passive aggressive. Oh, so you're
Me?
not doing the marathon anymore? No. Okay. Cool. Uh,
Yeah.
good
We
chat. You know what I mean?
well,
Like,
yeah, you're like just nothing else? No more information? That's
yeah.
it?
Well, why aren't you doing it? Well, it just wasn't working out.
Yeah. Not for me.
I don't need to explain. But we feel so compelled to explain ourselves to people, and I can't figure that out.
Oh
I have
my
no idea
gosh.
why.
I think it's in the conditioning of, and I don't want to blame the education system because it is so beneficial. Like it's an institution that exists for a reason. People are doing great work. Um but I do think it's part of that. There's like a you have to meet your teacher's expectation and then the school's expectations of you, or even on the bus, like bus behavior expectations, things like that. It's always for other people. Not a lot of it is like genuinely for yourself, really. And it's all like with the purpose of giving you. I was thinking about this uh because the kids obviously all bring books onto the bus, and I'm like, oh my god, if they had to pay for those themselves. And then I got on this like spiral loop of like, but they don't, because we live in a world where our taxes pay for education up to grade 12 so that kids have at least a strong foundation of education that's provided to them for free. I mean, you could argue that, but We're not paying tuition. We're not paying for books. We're not paying all that stuff that you do when you're in post-secondary. Um, Anyways, I got off on a tangent there. The point was, you were
This whole
saying, "Who's all
episode
this
was
for?"
tangents.
I know. Who's all this for? It's for others, and I think it kind of starts there. I see kids behave in this way all the time. Like, they've asked me a question, but then they're already starting on the reason why, and I'm blah, 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 but this is I was hoping that you could, I had one kid, he had to get off. He asked to get off, asked me to stop at his stop first. Um And before I could even answer, he was like, I really need to go." And I was like, I put my hand out and I was like, "I don't need an explanation. It's okay." And he was just like, "Oh," like so taken aback because I think in the world that people live in, and I remember being a student at that age, you did have to have why do you need to go to the bathroom right now? You know what I mean? There's almost like you had to have a reason for everything.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it is very disarming to say to somebody, and I try and do this to others if they feel like they need to explain. I'm like, "You don't need to explain it to me." Like that like, I believe you. You
and
know?
and that comes back to the meditation thing, the optional videos.
Yeah.
Make a decision and then move on.
Yeah.
If anyone here
I
hasn't
have to believe
watched
in myself.
uh the one of the best shows ever made, 1883,
Mhm.
there's that scene where Colton has
Best
to
show
shoot that lady that was scalped,
ever. Oh, yeah.
and he's really upset with himself about it, but Sam Elliott just fucking cowboys up. And he's like, you make a decision and you stand by it, right or wrong. Stand by your
Mhm.
decision. And it's not for nothing. It's so that you don't have to keep going back and readdressing it and wondering and wondering and wondering. Just
Forever.
just
Yeah.
fucking shoot the dog and keep going.
Mhm.
Just let it lie and move on with your life.
Yeah. Or else
So
you do end up in those downward thought spiral.
because every time you explain yourself to someone, especially if it's say, yeah, I left my job or I'm not doing the marathon or whatever,
Mhm.
you feel like you've broken some sort of an agreement between you and the whole fucking world
Yeah.
once you said I'm going to do this. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Life changes. Who the fuck cares?
I
I,
wrote this invisible contract in blood,
yeah, exactly.
and yeah.
Yeah, the only people who that affects are witches, and we'll talk about that next week.
I was gonna say Ursula, but yeah, witches too, I
Oh, that's
guess. They're in
true.
the same category. Yes, and that's for next week.
I think that's a
Witches
great way to
and what is Ursula?
an octopus.
Is she? But what is it when you're an octopus and a human?
I not to be crass, I feel like it's octopussy.
Oh, like it that doesn't apply for guys. Like mermaid, merman? You're telling me what is it if it's a guy?
What if it's still octopussy
I don't think so.
and they're just
Also,
all
isn't that the
bitches?
name of a 007 movie?
Yes, yes.
How has nobody canceled that yet?
I think it was the name of like the
The bad guy, the villain?
yeah,
Hmm. And he was Ursula, but a dude. Is that what you're telling me?
Octopussy was a girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My bad.
and was the bad guy in that James Bond movie. Yeah, yeah.
Ursula, but like live action. Wow.
What do you call? Fuck. Okay, I'm not gonna look this up until later. What do you
Yeah,
call
this will be
mer
for
people who
next
are
week.
octopuses? All right. Hey, thank you all for
Okay.
listening. Uh, and
As
we look
always.
forward to providing you more of this top-notch entertainment.
Yes. Till next time. Toodles.